to the Conquistabores. Join us tonight as we discuss the pay-per-view, The King of the Ring 1993. Tonight with the Mouth of the North, Euan Taylor, rugged Cameron Phillips, Geordie Alan Milburn, the Doctor of Style, Phil Doyle. Only tonight on the Conquistabores. All right, welcome to episode 2 of the welcome to episode 2 of the Conquistabores.
Yeah, I haven't got a cold this month, so I could probably have a good go at
that. Go on then.
The Conquistabores!
Wow, I felt that over here.
Bad one.
Well,
oh my god! Who's that? The triple threat has turned into a fatal four-way this week.
Aye.
Because the other host, I'm trying to frantically think of a good wrestling nickname for you. Grappling you and Thomas. Taylor, I ruined
it. Dear me.
Effed it.
Apologise.
That's it, it's ruined. Sorry. I hanged my podcast head in shame. Yes, Ewan's on the show this week. Ewan's here.
Yay.
Why couldn't you bother turning up the first show?
It wasn't I couldn't be bothered, it's just I couldn't.
Oh, because Cam said you couldn't be bothered. He said that you said, screw this, it's rubbish, I don't want any part of it.
How can I say it was rubbish when I hadn't done even the first show? Your logic is flawed.
No, it's not, because...
This isn't Sonic's Ring where you can get away with like plot holes and stuff making no sense. This is the Conquistadores. Things make sense here.
Does it?
Isn't Vince Russo WCW?
Speaking of that, I just want to quickly mention before I start that me and Ethan sat down and watched Halloween Havoc 1995 on the WWE Network. Specifically the bit where they throw the giant off the roof of the building.
Oh, that's the monster truck one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he just kind of walks into the match. And they're all like, yeah, he survived!
Yeah. But it's like a whole, like 20 minutes of them just basically driving around the roof of a building in Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they try desperately, bless them, to make it sound like the most exciting thing ever.
No,
and it's not.
Then there's only like that little bit at the end, and it means nothing, because he's back at the end for the match.
Yeah, it's essentially pointless. Ethan was like, he couldn't quite grasp what was going on.
That's good.
Like, he fundamentally was just like, but he fell off the roof.
Yeah.
But they said it was 5 stories onto concrete.
It's wrong when a young child can poke holes in wrestling logic.
Yeah, it's great. Although he was sat there, I don't know if you saw my tweet about it yesterday. We were watching it, and he just sat there watching it quietly and he went, you know, Daddy, people at school say wrestling's fake. It's not fake. It's real.
Yes.
And I was like, yes!
Now show them some more New Japan and get done with it.
Yeah. I already have done the shot, Ewan. Oh, see, this is where the podcast takes a very quick left turn to the Orient.
No.
And it's all
I'll be good.
Yeah, okay. So we're not going to have that this week. This week, we're looking at the inaugural pay-per-view, King of the Ring 1993.
Yeah.
The first time, I believe, that the King of the Ring has ever been held, ever.
Welcome to the heartland of America, as the World Wrestling Federation presents the first ever King of the Ring extravaganza.
No, right.
Like it's no, Al. I think you'll find they say it's the first time history's made for the first time, because there's never been a King of the Ring before, apart from King Macho Man and King Hulk 2 and King Harley Race. Oh, and Jerry the King Lawler, which we'll come back to later. There's been no other kings in wrestling, apart from in this one.
Well, I've actually got the 1991 King of the Ring.
What?
I have indeed.
Did they actually show that?
No, it is taped from a camcorder inside the arena.
Oh my God.
And I kid you not, I do indeed own it. The quality's not the best.
No wonder.
Bret Hart won that one.
Well, spoilers.
Oh. I said he won that one. I didn't say anything else.
We're gonna get and talk to that. If the other I should probably say Cameron and Al are still here from last week.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
I got so shocked by Ewan being here that I got my hosting duties got kind of knocked off track.
It's fine. It's like we won't hold it against you. You've got our names right at least. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did.
I'm very upset over here.
Cameron Milburn and Al Phillips. There you go. A little joke there for you boys. A little bit of name humour.
That just makes it sound like he's my brother.
or your partner.
Yep.
Yeah, me and Al had a
now,
civil partnership, and now we're married. You know, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, proper married now. That's beautiful.
Oh, guys, think of the future, eh?
Should we just crack on with the show then, shall we?
Yeah, let's get on with the show.
Yeah.
Get on with the show.
Tonight, 8 of the toughest superstars of the WWF will bang heads in a grueling single elimination tournament to determine once and for all who is the king of the ring. In opening round matchups, former WWF champion Hitman Bret Hart will square off against his old nemesis, Ruthless Razor Ramon. Pure perfection meets pure power as Mr. Perfect takes on the sinister Mr. Hughes. Hacksaw Jim Duggan will butt heads with the massive beast from the east, Bam Bam Bigelow. The undefeated Native American Tatanka grapples with the narcissist Lex Luger. Who will survive this grueling test of strength and endurance? Who will be crowned the WWF King of the Ring?
All right, King of the Ring. Like last week, we're going to go through the card, top to bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So, the start of the show, we introduced for the announcing team for tonight's show. Hacksaw. No, I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at part of my notes. Sorry.
Can we start off with a dark match?
Oh, go on, yeah, because there was a dark match one, wasn't it?
It was a USWA title match, and champion Papa Shango defeated Owen Hart.
Can I just say?
Yep.
That I don't think those words have ever been used together before or since.
Papa Shango champion?
Yeah, champion of Papa Shango.
I was going to say, Papa Shango actually held a belt.
Well, the USWA belt for all it was worth.
There's a little story about that.
Oh, go on then.
Apparently, I read it's on his Wikipedia page. He only got the belt because the organisation wanted to tap into the increasing numbers of black people that were getting going to the crowd.
So they picked Papa Shango.
Black champion would be a good idea, but apparently Shango realised this and wasn't comfortable and asked to drop the belt.
So having a black person hold a belt because they wanted to get more of the black audience and having him in the dark match, that was the best idea they came up with. That's
not the fact that I'm worried about. I'm worried about they must have looked around the locker room and went, which black guy can we have to put a belt on? How is about the really stereotypical voodoo guy over there?
Stereotypical voodoo man.
Yeah, he'll do.
Yeah, in 1992, they had Coco Beware.
Well, they might as well put it on the parrot.
And then after
crying out loud.
they wanted the appeal to the Indian community, so they let Tatanka have the belt as well.
Oh, Tatanka.
Oh, Tatanka.
And even Macho Man got it at one point.
Was that back when it was the proper belt?
It was like a talent exchange thing between them, and I think it was in 92, 93, they were doing this talent exchange thing.
Oh, so kind of like how they'd use like Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so Owen Hart not even on the card. There's a shot.
Yep.
So yeah, the announcing team for the night, you've got Jim Ross, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Did anyone, I mean, I've written on my notes, right at the start, that it seems that Macho Man and Heenan are in a competition, at least for the first round matches, as to who can say the sentence, "You've only got 15 minutes of time," the most times possible.
I started to tally that up at one point, then I gave up after it got past 100.
Macho's obsessed by it, isn't he? He must have a stopwatch
on his
desk.
He's there going, "You've only got 15 minutes of time."
All right, Hitman, go get him, brother. Remember, you got a 15-minute time limit, so you got to go get him early. Don't let him stall.
You know, you're right about that, Savage. You can't lay back. You got 15 minutes to do it to advance.
Come on, brother, you got 15 minutes to win the match.
Way early.
In between that, explaining how the tournament actually works for the two people that didn't understand.
Yeah, the phrase, "only the winner stays on."
I think
that's how they work.
I quite liked it all when they do the graphic of all the people in the match. All the faces are in white text, and all the heels have got black text.
Yes.
Subtle, you see, they're subtle. They're kind of telling you how it works. But I also wrote down the King of the Ring theme was rubbish.
I like the King of the Ring theme. It works.
That's rubbish. And also, I noticed it was the new WWF logo. I'm not sure if this was the first one or if it had been introduced.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, obviously the last one we did had the proper Chrome logo, but now it's got that kind of more, not the New Generation logo or the Scratch logo, but the kind of intermediate one where it's kind of a bit more.
Oh, the one you used for Old School Raw, that one.
Yeah, kind of a bit like a one-up from that one.
All right.
So, yeah, it's a new logo. So obviously this, because we're into the period now of that kind of change between the late 80s, early 90s WWF and what would be the Attitude Era. The floundering period, as I think we can call it.
I think are we officially calling this period post-steroid?
Yes.
I think it's safe to call it that, yes. Post that thing we don't talk about.
Without wishing to name individuals.
Oh dear.
Post-steroid.
Trial period.
Term.
I think that's the safe political non-Sue term we can use. So
I think that's it. Yeah, we're not pinning that on anyone in particular.
No.
I think the polite way to refer to this would be the Lex Luger years. Because because he is kind of, I think he came in at the previous Royal Rumble after doing the WBF stuff for a while.
Yep.
And he's in the card on this, up against the Tanker in the opening round of one of the matches we'll come to in a bit. So I think, he would soon to get a big push. So it was like Luger seemed to be the person they thought was going to be the next big thing.
Before we jump into the card, can I just make a comment? I did watch the last one, WrestleMania 8, and that WBF promo is one of the creepiest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Why? Because he drinks an entire glass of milk?
It was just weird.
Yes.
Take it off, Lex. Show him the body.
Give us a peek. Just give us a peek. Give us a peek. It's like, what is going on?
Not good.
It was just weird.
Not good. They're just weird. So we got the instructions out of the way. We've got the announcing team sat down, counting the 15-minute time clock for each match.
Yes.
Because these opening matches, I've got, I think, is it like a 15-minute time out in the first round, 30 minutes in the next round?
An hour in the final.
The final's an hour, yeah.
So first match, in it comes. You've got the bad guy Razor Ramon versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, if anything says early 90s WWF, it's Razor Ramon, isn't it? So there's kind of the Scarface music and the toothpick and his swagger down to the ring.
How brilliant was Scott Hall as Razor Ramon?
He was the man.
He owned that. And what I like as well is, like, as he comes out, he's getting all the 1, 2, 3 chants.
Yes.
I totally forgotten that this was just. I was telling Al yesterday. I thought the Sean Waltman thing was like 94-ish.
He does feel later, doesn't it? Because this is 90, obviously 1993, which is. I think Raw's only just been on TV for a few months at this point.
They were going for the shock factor, I think is what it was.
Yeah, because they kind of they had to kind of prove that on Raw anything could happen. So having 1, 2, 3 Kid beat Ramon on Raw was kind of a big deal for him, wasn't it? To kind of show, look, you need to watch this because
he turned up every week with a different name. He was the Kamikaze Kid, he was the Lightning Kid, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, he was just the kid.
Yeah, he was looking for a name, and then they found one for him.
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3 Kid. So Ramon comes out getting all the chants. Out comes Hitman to still the best Hitman music. I don't care what anybody else says. His original theme is the best Hitman theme.
His original, yes.
Yeah. And also written down, first of all, that the ref had a great mullet.
Are we looking at hairstyles after the pudding bowl haircut of one of the refs in WrestleMania 8? Yeah. We should kind of concentrate on referee haircuts more around this time.
Absolutely. This is actually a fashion show hidden under a wrestling show, so get tuned in, guys.
There's no way you can miss that mullet, though, obviously, because the ref's in lots of the shots. You just can't miss it. It's just there.
I also have another question as well. They mention at various points that Bret Hart is the number 1 seed, but at no other point do they go through the other seeds.
No. Because he's the number 1 to all accounts, Euan. It's just like number 1 on that.
But I'd like to know who the number 7 seed was. It's important information that me as the audience needs to know.
I reckon
Hughes was down there somewhere.
Well,
he was certainly up there with the weight, but we'll get to that later on.
We'll get to that later. Yes, I mean, they work a pretty good match, those two. Although I kind of feel like it takes a while for the commentary team to get into some kind of rhythm. It feels quite disjointed at first. There's only a couple of kind of good lines from Heenan during the match. What's one about Bret Hart? Like he was Hart family of 15 kids. It was one of each.
Yeah.
Yep.
All kind of great like that. But I kind of felt like it wasn't like, because obviously WrestleMania 8 we had proper classic Heenan kind of going all the way through it. But he was kind of, I don't know, he wasn't on his form this time.
Well, he's probably got the offer from WCW. His last one would be Survivor Series 93.
Yeah, so it's not long till he goes in, is it? Him and Mean Gene.
Well, WrestleMania 17 doesn't count.
Yeah. Mean Gene's waiting at the coronation stand as we speak throughout the entire event, obviously. So yeah, I don't think they don't get time to kind of create a really good classic match.
Well, sorry to interrupt you. According to Bret Hart's book, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Near enough quotations. Razor Ramon was very green. He was not as green as he was during their Rumble match, which of course Bret Hart carried, but he was still quite green during this, and apparently didn't trust Razor Ramon executing the Razor's Edge in fear of breaking his neck. If only so. But yes, as you hear a lot, the majority of any good Bret Hart match, of course, is down to him solely.
Obviously.
There's a running theme also of him not really wanting to take any finishers from any other wrestlers. Because if he doesn't want to take the Razor's Edge, there's a whole thing Kevin Nash has about how he didn't want to take the powerbomb.
Yeah.
The jackknife.
Yeah.
At one stage, apparently.
Was that when he was injured, though? And it was kind of... Because obviously it's quite a tough move, quite a big move to take, isn't it? So
no, it was something about before WrestleMania 12, they had him and... there was a match which Nash and Bret Hart were going to have.
In Your House 6.
That was the one. And did The Undertaker not interrupt that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole idea was that Kevin Nash tells a story about how Bret Hart was gonna, he was gonna give Bret Hart the powerbomb, and then Nash would have had him, and then Undertaker was gonna come in and then DQ, blah blah. But Bret Hart refused to take the powerbomb because his argument was, "Oh no, that makes me look weak if I could get pinned up your finisher." And Nash was like, "Yeah, but it makes me look good going into face Undertaker." "Oh no, I'm not taking the powerbomb. I'm not taking your powerbomb. I'm not taking the jackknife." So they ended up having to do this kind of like weird thing where Taker just interrupted at a random moment.
Just came in randomly.
Yeah.
But sure, that's the whole point. Like a finisher should be able to finish anybody off near enough, shouldn't it? So
pretty much, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Unless you're Cena and you are Alberto Del Rio.
That's true.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on. We're getting caught up.
It's quite weird. He says that Razor Ramon was still green because he'd been wrestling for about 5 years, hadn't he? Like in WCW, was he Big Scott Hall or whatever his name was? Like a big cowboy kind of guy.
Was he the Diamond Stud?
Something like that. Yeah. He'd been wrestling a while, but so it's
years.
Hitman's Queen and Green's a bit weird. I remember there being like kind of a really good clothesline from Razor when he kind of nearly kills Bret Hart.
Yeah,
and then
he just turns. It's almost the Larian. Almost, it just absolutely floors him. It's kind of like, okay, that seemed a bit hard.
Absolutely sucks the air out of Bret. Like, I've also written a note on here that's saying that Bret at one occasion in this match runs the rope twice for a punch.
Yes,
just to really wind up the punch. Yeah, we get to the finish, which is a superplex off the top turnbuckle, which Hart turns into a pin. Bang, done.
Yep.
In the 15-minute time limit, which is,
It's a fairly decent opener, actually. I quite enjoyed it.
Of the opening round matches, it's easily the strongest match, isn't it, compared to what comes afterwards?
I would actually rate, of the opening matches, I would rate Tatanka Luger over this.
Oh, no.
We'll come to that in a minute.
No, we'll get to that 15-minute snooze fest later on.
No, but it's a bit... There's a bit... I think Luger and Tatanka... Oh, we'll get to that in a minute, right? Carry on.
Yeah, we'll get to that in
a minute.
The only thing I noted down about this match was that front row, just behind the ring, there's a Hulk Hogan impersonator in the crowd.
I thought that was Hulk Hogan.
It looks like him in about 10 years. So yeah, I just thought, did you just keep seeing like this Hulk Hogan guy in shot who's like really kind of like, just why did you do that? I know you're a Hogan fan, but come on. Put him on the other side of the ring where you can't see him or something.
That's the guy they sent to the courtroom to basically say, hey, I'm Hulk Hogan, I can't be on steroids.
Look at my muscle, look at the pythons. They're barely adders, come on.
Barely adders.
Yes. So, thank you. So yeah.
Well, that's a show title.
Do you want to know the Dave Meltzer rating for this match?
Well,
3 stars.
That's been generous.
2.5 maybe.
So there, we're out of that match. We get a nice video package detailing the feud between the Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah, that one was building quite nicely, wasn't it?
I actually forgot about this, and I actually screamed when I was watching this. Giant fucking Gonzalez is here. Then I remembered that Giant Gonzalez was the worst wrestler known to mankind.
No, I think you'll find that's the big Indian fella. What's his name? Big Carly.
Well,
he can barely walk.
Giant Gonzalez is a very close second.
Yeah, at least he can walk to the ring and not like he's going to collapse in a moment.
To be fair to Carly, he does not wear a costume which has fake muscles and armpit.
Yes.
Don't forget the sprayed on crotch muscle or whatever it is.
To be fair to him, he never has to suffer that.
This is true. Yeah. There's also the great line from Savage, I believe, where it's the quote of, Taker's been laid out by Mr. Hughes at this point with the urn, and Hughes is just laying him out with urn shots. And the line is, come on, Undertaker, sit up, do that thing.
Do that thing!
Come on, Undertaker, sit up, brother, clear the ring, do that thing!
Do that thing, get up! It's like,
So, as Euan says, the video package leads into the Mr. Perfect, Mr. Hughes match, the Battle of the Misters. Yep. Do they call it that?
Mr.
Yes.
Mister. Never knew how much I missed her. Because of the show Sister.
Oh God.
Oh dear.
But it's Mr. because it's anyway the match. Okay.
Jesus.
What I wrote down about this match
is fairly infamous in King of the Ring. Because bizarrely, Mr. Perfect had to fight 3 qualifying matches against Doink the Clown. It seemed to be the main event of Raw every week or something.
Doink the Clown.
Yeah, it was like Superstar
well, aren't we?
They had like 3 separate programs over like 1 week. That was the last match.
They kept going to time limit draws, but then they kept getting another chance next week. I don't see how that makes any sense.
Because it's Doink the Clown, he can bend reality, can't he?
I suppose.
There you go.
But the main thing, the first thing I wrote about this match was that as Perfect comes out, he does the behind the towel, throw in the air and catch, and they cut away from it.
Yes, they do. They miss it.
I was raging. I was so angry. But then Perfect gets into the ring and he kind of behind his back throws the towel and it lands perfectly on Hughes' shoulder.
It does. I wrote that as well. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
It's just perfectly on his shoulder.
It's the look on Hughes' face. He does quite, put that across quite well because he does look absolutely disgusted.
Yeah. And of course, this is face Perfect, so Bobby Heenan's all angry at him.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect, big deal.
Yeah, I don't remember Mr. Perfect being a face. This was what confused me greatly watching this back. I don't remember a time that Mr. Perfect was a face. Maybe I was too young at the time, but when I saw him come out, I'm like, what the hell?
It was the big thing when he turned against Flair, because when Warrior got sacked at Survivor Series, they needed a partner. Turned Perfect against Flair, turned them face.
Yeah, which is that Heenan Flair Heenan Perfect relationship was really good. So it kind of felt a bit bad breaking that up. But yeah, so I've got nothing else written about this match apart from what a dropkick.
No. This is the first instance of the brain scan being used.
Oh, the brain scan, of course. Yeah.
To draw the trajectory of Mr. Perfect's gum, which unfortunately looked like a penis by the end of it. I laughed and watched it about 8 times.
That's why it wasn't Luger that was the cock drawing. It was Perfect.
It was Perfect.
God, yes. In my memory, I thought it was Luger.
No, Luger was the one where he was. We'll get to it later on.
Yeah.
We get like a mid-match.
I forgot about the brain scan, and I demand it return now.
Well, even though Heenan's dead?
Sure.
He used it at Survivor Series 92 to, I think he made Virgil into a big pile of mashed potato after Yokozuna.
Yeah, because I remember that. Yokozuna's leg was the turkey drumstick.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and Virgil, I remember.
Yes. The mashed potato, which is Virgil.
It's a bit racist.
I remember that. But this match is nothing. It ends on a kind of just for no reason. Your man Hughes grabs the urn and lays out Perfect. For no reason at all.
Did anyone notice the bit before that where there's a moment where Perfect crotches Hughes on the ropes, and in order to sell this bollock crunching move, Mr. Hughes grabs his own arse.
Yes.
And you're there going, no, wrong.
Wrong side.
They've actually gone and said to him, and Arca starting to peek out his arse. That's why he's grabbing it.
Yeah. Well, I completely forgot about Mr. Hughes because I think he went across to ECW afterwards. He wasn't in WWF very long.
For some unknown reason, they kept hiring them for very short stints.
Because he came back as Triple H's bodyguard, didn't he? Well, Hunter Hearst Helmsley's bodyguard.
It was before China, yeah.
Yeah, before China. So he's not bad in the ring. He's just kind of like a big heel guy who hasn't really got any crowd. Perfect is his best, but he just can't get a good match out of it.
He's a charisma black hole, is what you need to know.
That's right.
He's also a large black hole as well, because he was massive in this match.
So yeah, that was that match. One of the stars, according to Meltzer. That one was.
Sounds about right. Yeah, for the finish,
I think that one of the
just a random DQ from nowhere. That's kind of about right.
So did Bret Hart tell them both how to work that match?
Yeah, he just kind of pops up and just goes.
Bret Hart booked this whole thing. We just don't know. I
think there must have been another Hart comments I've written down in the Bobby Heenan quote where he says Bret Hart's the 14th of 13 children.
Yeah.
So we get past that. There's a Yokozuna bit.
Yes, where they reference the, as I wrote down, WrestleMania 9 bullshit angle.
What I love about it, because he's Japanese and all that, the start of the video promo, they focus on the Sony stereo in the room.
Yeah.
And they pull out from the Sony logo.
Yep.
Because he's Japanese, so therefore he listens to a Japanese stereo.
As if they're sort of saying, look at him with all this foreign, non-American crap.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of it being American, I mean, they mention this an awful lot about it being in the heartland of America.
Welcome to the heartland of America! From the heartland of America! Go get one of the World Wrestling Federation Championship belts right here on the heart of America.
We're in the heartland of America, Dayton, Ohio. The heartland of America. We're in Dayton, Ohio, and we're so happy that you're with us.
I think because like they make a big point of saying Hulk Hogan wants it here because it's the heartland of America, and Jim Ross is like, we're in the heartland of America.
It's Dayton, Ohio.
Here
It's a
in the
shithole.
heartland of America. Yeah, and they just kind of keep mentioning it all the time. But like Euan just said, like with the the place you're in Dayton, Ohio, it's a rubbish venue though, isn't it?
It's nothing. It's a nothing city in the middle of Ohio. I don't know what they were going for.
Well, it holds like from reading the Wikipedia page, it only held like 6,500 people.
It did look like a very big. It did look a very full building. I'll give them points for that.
I don't know, because at some points it looked quite empty. There's a few times later on where you can kind of see empty seats on like the main hard cam view.
Yeah, there's a couple of they've tarped off a bit of the top area. You can tell some of the shots.
Yeah. So it's a weird venue, but it's in the heartland of America, which is the important thing.
And the whole thing with the Yokozuna Hulk Hogan thing was it was Japan against America. It was the only against the all-American boy. And as we'll learn later on, Hogan's very passionate about his country, even to the point where he mispronounces it a few times.
So yeah, that's the Yokozuna promo out of the way. Then we get to the next match of the King of the Ring: Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
What a mess this match was at times.
Jesus.
It's pretty inoffensive though. It's only about 8 minutes.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, they get through it. I mean, I've written down two big men running into each other.
That's about right.
That's essentially it. You know, they just keep off the ropes into the other guy, stand there, and just repeat for about 8 minutes.
I'm just amazed that Jim Duggan managed to make a long and fairly successful career out of carrying a piece of wood, shouting the word "hole" and chanting USA. That's about all he's got.
It really worked for him, didn't it?
Yeah.
The USA chant.
I wrote down the formula: Hacksaw Jim Duggan equals vintage Santino, essentially.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's perfectly a good comparison, I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, they try to do like a bit where he gets like a rib injury. I get a bit of friction in the booth in this match between Macho and Heenan. Like he's like, "You're out of line, Heenan, about something." The booth's not a settled booth. It's not a happy booth doing the broadcast in this one.
Are his ribs injured, Ross, or is he just choking on some American apple pie? Maybe it was something he ate, didn't agree with him.
Not a chance, Bobby Heenan. You're out of line right there. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is a tough competitor, and he's a tough guy, and he's going to go at the beast from the east. You watch it.
It does seem like they kind of tried to use Jim Ross as a straight guy, and then they had Heenan as the heel, and then obviously Macho cheering for the faces. It was a pretty kind of set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you occasionally got a good bit of banter between Savage and Heenan as a result of this.
Yeah,
right?
I think Ross doesn't feel comfortable in this show. I don't know what it is. I know.
Well, it's only like his second one, isn't it?
Yeah.
He did WrestleMania 9. He did this one. Then I think this is the last one he did until about 96 or something.
He gets shunned on WF Radio.
Yeah.
And he did. I think he did one match at Survivor Series '93. I'm not even sure he did one at SummerSlam. The top of my head.
Was it not around about that time at the tail end of '93 that he had his first bout of Bell's palsy?
Might have been around that time.
I think it was. I remember him saying it was '93, '94. He had his first bout of Bell's palsy, so he had to take some time off.
He's far from being like the voice of WWF that he would become in this match, isn't he? It's not that Jim Ross. He's still I think he's still trying a bit too hard to like impress Vince to kind of keep his job.
Yeah, it did come across that way. Kind of like, I'll be safe. I won't say anything. I won't get too involved. I'll just call the action and let the other two color analysts do the kind of added stuff.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys had this promo. It was on the W Network with like a little Terry Taylor promo.
Oh, this is brilliant. Yes. Terry Taylor with the Steiners and the smoking guns.
Yes, it's on the Tag Classics DVD, which I'll load for me.
Their mustaches they're pretty good mustaches.
They're amazing mustaches.
Rick Steiner takes the mustache, champion of the room, but there's some good mustaches in there. And Rick Steiner, he's a shouty man, isn't he? I forgot how shouty he was.
Yeah, he's an angry gentleman.
Shouty, barky, hairy man.
Well, dog face.
Yeah, come down to the dog pound because we're going to be a bunch of crazy dogs in the ring.
Because when you think of the Steiners, you tend to think of how Scott Steiner ended up being Big Papa Pump and all that. But whereas you kind of forget Rick Steiner was he was the shouty crazy one. Yeah. He made even less sense than Scott Steiner.
I've just written down Scott Steiner has 2 sentences on a promo and doesn't swear. Well done, Scott. Well done.
Well done, Scott.
Miracle achieved.
Miracle achieved. So we're out of that match into the match that we previously alluded to, the Titanic battle of the undefeated streaks, Lex Luger versus Tatanka.
Oh, yes. Now, this is set up wonderfully, this match. I like the narcissist gimmick.
I do as well.
Yeah, it was good.
The minute I saw that mirror, memories of my childhood came back. I'm like, oh my god, I remember this now.
This guy loves to look at himself in the mirror, doesn't he, Macho Man? He is really full of himself.
I remember the whole thing. I remember the thing about the plates being a big deal.
Yeah, the elbow pad.
Yes.
I love that. The ref saying, no, you're wearing an elbow pad, mate. You're wearing... Because you've got, what is it? He had, a motorcycle accident. There's a metal plate.
Yeah, there's a few metal plates. Well, as Heenan uses the brain scan for... There's a... I'm trying to remember exactly what he draws on it, but it's absolutely ridiculous. Basically to emphasise the fact that he's got a very strong arm and the plates have nothing to do with it.
They kind of... Where do we stand on Tatanka?
I liked him when I was a kid. I had a Tatanka foam hatchet.
He's a good face, but a crap heel, that's what I would say.
But this was in the middle of his push. Obviously, he's in the middle of his big undefeated streak.
Yep.
Which lasted a good year or so, didn't it? They kept that going for a long time.
He debuted before WrestleMania 8, knocking around there, not long after the Rumble.
Yeah.
Was it Survivor Series just before Ludwig Borger beat him?
I think so. Oh, Ludwig Borger.
On an episode of Superstars of all bloody things.
Yep.
Wasn't even a pay-per-view he got beat on.
He pinned him with one finger.
That's how good Ludwig Borger was.
Can I put a point towards you, gentlemen?
Go on then. The floor is yours.
I've written a note here that says, Tatanka was last generation's Kofi Kingston.
Ooh.
I didn't see him do no handstands.
But
he's like a mid-card kind of guy. He's got a really high tempo to him. He's really good, but he's not quite got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd like him when he comes in. They get on their feet.
Yeah.
And then when he goes away again, you're like, oh, that was all right.
Yeah, it was all right.
He's like a Big Mac. He's like a Big Mac, isn't he? He's just kind of he's just good for a 5-minute filler. Kind of.
Yeah. You didn't look at Tatanka and think, oh yeah, future world champion.
Oh, God, no.
No, exactly. But he was decent. But, you think, good mid. Oh, he's a Tatanka match. That's good.
You saw him come out and you're like, all right, this match isn't going to suck.
Yeah.
I mean, the match they work. I think the problem with the match, it seems like Lex Luger gets blown up quite quickly. Because a lot of it is Tatanka on the floor and Luger stood there with his arms in his hips, pacing and taking deep breaths. And then Tatanka tries to get some offense, and then Luger puts him down again, and then he kind of paces for a couple more minutes.
Well, it's quite fast to begin with, isn't it? It's straight to the point. But I was writing that thinking, well, they obviously know that this is going to go the full 15 minutes, and this is going to be their only match of the night.
Yeah.
So they can afford to go full tilt at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they've not got to do any more work after that.
They're done.
They're done for the night. They can go back to the hotel. See you guys.
And they've got to let Heenan get a few more digs into Tatanka as well on the mic.
Yeah, using the hey-ha warrior again,
Yeah, but he don't understand what 15 minutes is. To him, that's a third of a moon. Many moon come for I win match. You understand.
But at one point, I'm sure Macho Man says the King of the Ring is more important than the WWF title. But I'm positive. I've written that down. He's like, it's more prestigious than the WWE title is winning the King of the Ring.
There was a lot in this that was kind of trying to emphasise that this was pretty much a number one contenders match.
Yeah.
Really, the tournament rather was pretty much a number one contenders tournament.
Yeah. Quite an extravagant way of doing it, though. Let's be honest with ourselves. Yeah. So I mean, I quite like they sell the time limit again during the commentary, but it seems like at no point does the ref signal the time to the.
I was going to say, for all the commentary team babble on about they've only got 15 minutes, they've only got 15 minutes. There seems to be then in this match established that there's no actual way of the wrestlers actually knowing how much time is left.
Yeah.
How much time's left? Does anybody know that?
It's got to be less than 2 minutes, guaranteed. Know how much time's left. This is very important.
There's not a clock at ringside. There's no countdown or anything.
There's nothing over the PA saying 5 minutes remaining.
No, nothing.
It's just there's your 15 minutes.
Taking guesses. They go, I think we have about 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and then we get to the draw, and it kind of feels like Luger almost starts doing like a face kind of thing. He's like going to the crowd. Let's have another 5 minutes. Hey. And then he just lays out to Tanker with his elbow.
Sure, and he goes, well, I'm done.
Yeah, just walks out, right, I'm done. Bye
what
then.
does this mean is Mr. Bigelow goes straight to the final.
Gets a bye. He gets a bye to the final. Ridiculous. 2.25 stars. Meltzer gave that one.
Nah.
That's been generous, I think.
So, considering Razor and Brett was 3 earlier on in the pay-per-view, I think that's fair. Because again, like I say, a lot of it is just Luger pacing around the ring.
I still quite enjoyed it. It's probably still for sort of the first sort of 5 minutes of sort of action and the setup to it, and the story. I probably enjoyed this match the most out of the first 4.
Right, so then we get on to we head into the next round of the King of the Ring, which is the Heart Perfect match.
Yes,
which we get a nice promo with Mean Gene stirring up trouble.
I love this. I love the fact Mean Gene was just stirring the pot and just standing back and watching his work. Yeah. I just wrote down in my notes here, Gene stirring the pot. What a bitch!
Before we talk about that particular matchup, Bret Hart, did you not say earlier on that you would prefer to wrestle Mr. Perfect over Mr. Hughes, and why?
Well, I just wanted to wrestle Mr. Perfect because I have more respect for his wrestling.
You think he's an easier opponent than Mr. Hughes would be?
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
I mean, is that what you said? I think you probably kind of intimated that, really.
You maybe took it the wrong way. What I meant is that I respect Mr. Perfect's wrestling ability, and I'd like to go in there and have a wrestling match.
No, you said you prefer the endurance as to the size and strength of Mr. Hughes. Is that what you said?
It's quite a difficult kind of promo because obviously they're both faces. Mm-hmm. But then, they both bring their old dads into it.
Yeah, it evolves into the classic Scottish "my dad will beat up your dad" argument.
Both of you are second-generation wrestlers. Your father, a great one, and of course, Larry the Axe, a great one. But did the two of them ever meet? I'm very curious.
Yeah, they met. My dad beat his dad.
Your dad never beat my dad.
But I also like the fact that they keep referring back to the was it SummerSlam 91?
Yes. I've written that down as well, like going, oh my god, they're referencing a pay-per-view result from almost 2 years previous.
Yeah, because that was the classic Intercontinental title match. Did Hart win his first belt then for the first singles belt?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So they're kind of always referring back to this match, and to be honest, these are probably the two best wrestlers on the entire card tonight going into the match, aren't they?
Yeah, except Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, well, obviously Mr. Hughes, clearly. So.
Let's not forget, Mr. Hughes did beat Kamala to get there.
Of course, yes. The mighty Kamala.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this is like the glamour match of the King of the Ring, I think, going through it.
Yeah.
And they work an absolute corker, don't they?
It is very, very good.
Yeah, it is.
Sure, it was all Bret Hart's doing. I'm sure it was.
Oh yeah, because Bret Hart did it all.
Bret Hart carried the match. Bret
Hart just carried him. Yeah. Totally.
I think what helps it quite well is that. Even though Perfect to face, he uses his kind of heel bad cop nature quite well.
He does. I was just saying, I wrote a note on that as well. I was thinking there's a nice twist that Perfect does, kind of effortlessly actually, into wrestling as a heel.
Yeah.
In the first match, obviously, he's a total face, but against Brett, he heels it up really nicely.
Yeah, it's not like overt. It's just kind of little things, and then I think there's a point where he helps Brett into the ring, then punches him, like sucker punches him. When he comes in.
That's the problem nowadays, though. When you've got two faces against each other in modern day WWE, they've got no idea what to do. No. So it's just the crowd sitting going, "Why do we care?"
Yeah, I mean, Perfect just kind of shows like someone's got to take that kind of heel role. Because you need like the two people kind of antagonize each other to kind of get the match going.
You don't need to be smashing with chairs. You don't need to be putting them through tables. Just little things that get the crowd interested and kind of go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like Perfect's doing like hair pulls and eye digs and stuff, isn't it? It's all just, it's nothing kind of overt. It's nothing that's going to turn him completely heel again. But it's just giving like an edge to the match.
A little bit of psychology, that's all you need.
Yeah.
But what I've also written down for this one is at one point I've put scientific at the start, brawling at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's lovely. The match just flows effortlessly from one style to the next. And they start off with the scientific stuff at the start, and then they get more desperate, so it starts getting a bit of a brawl at the end, fighting on the outside and things.
I wrote down as well about there being quite a nasty looking spot with a slingshot off the apron into the barrier.
Yeah, that looked like no fun.
Is that when Brett lands on his arse in what looks like a crate of Pepsi cans?
Yeah, that's not meant to be there.
you reckon?
Did Bret Hart insist that it wasn't put there?
I don't think it was his knowledge it was there.
Yeah, because this is when he starts setting his knees now, and he starts kind of going into limping for the rest of the night, effectively. But I also wrote as well, like, the ring had a really good sound in this match.
And the hitman scoops up Mr. Perfect. Both men trying to go for a slam, but it's Perfect with the advantage. Kicking him away. Side headlock takeover. Oh, what an offensive exchange.
And that's quite a weird thing, but like all the kind of bumps they take, they sound really good during the whole match.
You want to know what I've often think on that subject? I often thought that WCW rings back in the day had a better sound than WWF rings.
It sounded too high. It sounds too high, too crisp for me. WCW rings is I watch Nitro, and the ring just sounds wrong to me.
I'm not talking Nitro. I'm talking like early '90s WCW.
Right. Okay.
When you used to watch WCW Worldwide.
Right. Okay.
And like all the old WCW pay-per-views, the sound of the ring when they like, we're talking about the sound of bloody canvas and wood.
Okay, we get a look at Robbie V. Youngster out of Battle Creek, Michigan, against the former light heavyweight champion Scotty Flamingo. Takes him over again.
It's interesting because on a recent episode of the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, someone asked him, what was like, how were the rings back in WCW days? Because again, you said they sound differently, and he kind of talked about how the WCW rings were quite soft, so they could take kind of good bumps on them. And then when he moved to the WWF, the rings were like much, much harder, so he had to kind of change his game a little bit in order to kind of counteract that.
Not break the board.
Yeah, and like I think it was Rey Mysterio talked about how the rings were slightly bigger in WWF compared to WCW. Mm. Like it might have been a 16-foot ring compared to a 20-foot ring, and like he had to completely change his game and his timing in order to wrestle properly. So it does kind of matter a bit.
Yeah.
Because it can, if the ring's too hard, it can affect what they can do in a match, and it can stop them from doing like the really kind of big painful bumps because you just kind of basically landing on what essentially is like planks of wood, aren't you? So
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a cracking match. I like the end. It kind of they work into kind of like dodging each other's finishes.
Yeah, Brett tries to lock out the Perfect Plex, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, tries to box the Perfect Plex, and then I think doesn't Perfect switch over the sharpshooter as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like that really long figure four as well that Brett pulls out.
Yeah.
And like Perfect sells like an absolute bitch. And that's what kind of busts Perfect up for the rest of the match.
Yeah,
and it's brilliant.
But also, the other thing I liked about it as well is like as Perfect's doing kind of more and more heel stuff, Bobby Heenan starts taking credit for it.
It's a smart move. I'll tell you why it's a smart move. He is still relying on my psychology. He remembers what I taught him. That's why he's there, because of me.
He's doing all my tricks. I taught him all these tricks. He never forgets. And all that and stuff, and then we get to the finish, which is a good finish as well.
It is good. It is a really good finish.
It turns into a reversal fest, and eventually Brett gets the better of him.
Yeah, isn't it? Doesn't he reverse a small package?
Yes.
Yeah. He kind of rolls it back over again. And Perfect. I love how Perfect sells, like how shocked he is.
Mm-hmm.
Angry, and then he shakes his hand off. He goes.
Yeah.
It's like a really curt handshake though. It's like one little kind of shake, slap on the shoulder, and away you go.
Yeah,
it's good though, isn't it? It kind of sells like their rivalry though. I think it
absolutely, because when he was outside the ring, you could tell at any moment he thought, you know what, I could spam this guy right now if I wanted to, and he decides at the end not to do it. It's that little kind of hint of there's something maybe coming down the road.
Yeah, that would have been good if they kind of were able to work into the program together. That would have been really good. But yeah, a good match. 4.25 stars according to Meltzer.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, correct match. And then we get a shot of the booth, the table with Macho Man's. I think at this point is so het up he's taking his hat off and glasses.
Yeah,
and he can't sit there.
These matches have been so intense he had to declothe.
You have to declothe. And what I like about this little bit is at one point Jim Ross calls Bobby the Brain Weasel. He's like, "What do you think about that, Weasel?" And Bobby Heenan's like genuinely shocked.
Weasel, have you ever seen a more intensely competitive match than that?
Who did you refer to me as?
Weasel.
I know you're not talking to me, are you?
Brain. Never mind.
Well, he had the whole Weasel thing with like Ultimate Warrior and things like that, like a few years previous.
But there was always like his nickname back when he was in what was he in AWA back in the day? I think it was. So that was always like the crowd would chant Weasel at him all the time. But you can't just call him that when he's commentating. He's a broadcast journalist. Anyway. We're going to have to start getting into it now, boys. We're into the Hulk Hogan promo before the big match.
This promo was amazing.
Focusing on one of Jimmy Hart's jackets with the airbrushed face of Hulk Hogan. As Mean Gene, I believe, describes Hulk Hogan as the greatest hero in the history of the planet.
This is the immortal Hulk Hogan, the great American hero, perhaps the greatest hero in the history of the planet.
Yes, not just America, of the entire world.
Hulk Hogan is the greatest hero in the history of the planet.
Perhaps the greatest hero in the history of the planet.
Just let that sink in there for a minute. Just think about those words. Hulk Hogan is the greatest hero in the history of the planet.
In the history of the planet.
What's your problem?
I'm just saying.
As the arcades used to say back in the day, winners don't take drugs, except vitamins.
It's quite a bold statement from Mean Gene, that is. That's quite he's leading heavily with that one. And then I'm sure kind of Hulk starts using firing out some Pearl Harbor kind of imagery.
Yeah, he goes off in this weird American Gets Orient rant. But this time he's already mispronounced America. He's missed the A out, so it's the Heartland of America, which is...
Heartland of America, brother! With the pythons.
And then Jimmy Hart takes over and almost forgets the colours of the United States flag at one point, which I thought was brilliant.
People want to know, what's it like to manage Hulk Hogan? What's he all about? This man has red, white, and blue running through his veins.
I was never sure this Hulk Hogan-Jimmy Hart partnership. It kind of came out. I always felt it kind of came out of nowhere when Jimmy Hart turned on the Nasty Boys, didn't he? WrestleMania 9.
That's how he joined Hogan. He turned on them when they were going to bust Brutus's face up with a briefcase.
He should have just let them, shouldn't he? Because Brutus is a dickhead. But yeah, seeing Hogan with a manager, it didn't feel right because it's Hulk Hogan. He's always kind of been by himself and been like that kind of individual figure. To have him with a manager, I don't know. It just didn't quite work.
I guess they gave someone else for Hogan to play off of in promos. It wasn't just Hogan ranting at the camera.
Yeah, I suppose Jimmy Hart needed a job, didn't he?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the promo's all right, and then we're into it. Before they come out, there's quite a few photographers down the ring. Including one photographer with quite a big beard. Doesn't look suspicious at all, does he? With his giant beard.
I'm trying to remember what I was reading recently. I think it was on the Torch website. Somebody asked the Wade Killer a question going, why aren't there photographers at ringside anymore? And he actually made a really good point going, well, it kind of adds in a bit of importance to the match because if there are all these people surrounding the ring, it makes it seem more important than it might be.
Yeah.
And in this match, it seemed a big deal. You had this guy coming over from the Orient. You had all these photographers following him. It made Yokozuna look like a big star.
It did, yeah. Even though he's from Hawaii.
Well, yeah.
He's Hawaiian, yeah.
No one knew that.
Yeah. It also feels like quite a strange place in the card for, the heavyweight championship match. Because it's about halfway through, isn't it?
I would say it's probably first half main event or second half opener.
Yeah, it's quite strange. But you have to admit, when Hogan comes out, those fans still pop for him.
Of course.
They really do go for him. But Jesus, the match.
This match sucks.
It is obvious at this stage that Hogan really doesn't give a shite anymore.
He's out
like,
the door,
I'm getting paid. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm done
Now,
kidding.
here's the interesting thing, though, right? Hogan was desperate at this point in time for a television career away from wrestling. Because obviously we'd had the steroid bust. He decided that wrestling wasn't for him anymore. He wanted to make his money in Hollywood making... I mean, Thunder in Paradise already started at this stage, and that was why... he didn't even appear on WWF television from WrestleMania 9 until this.
Yeah.
So
he was training. That's why.
Yeah, not only he'd never been in the ring, he'd not wrestled, had a couple of pre-tape promos, and that was really it.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, obviously they wanted to get the belt off him if he was going to do that. Hence, obviously Yoko goes over in this match.
Yeah.
If that was now, 20 years later, 21 years later, and your world champion was going to be in a film or in a TV show on a regular weekly basis, even though they were going to take the time off wrestling, they'd probably keep the belt on him.
You mean like a Dave Bautista situation we've got now?
Exactly. I mean, it's like The Rock kind of last year, because they gave him the belt and he was wearing it around all these movie premieres.
Exactly. How much extra attention did he get because he was the WWE champion? And that rubbed off, obviously, in WWE.
Exactly.
It's a good thing.
But I think, like, a film schedule is different from a TV schedule, though, because there's not so much promoting around, you know, the filming of a TV show, isn't it? He's going to be constantly doing that. Whereas he had The Rock with the belt, he was promoting his film, so he wasn't actually, you know, making the films at that stage. So I think it's a little bit of a different situation, but I can kind of see a point in that. If your star's going to be like a big, you know,
it's more just
going to be visible for a while.
Change in attitude over that two-decade period. I'm interested in. I mean, it's obviously in the early 90s. It was kind of like there was the wrestling business, and there was movies. Yeah. And they were a very separate thing.
There was wrestling and other entertainment.
Now it's come under a full banner of entertainment.
Yes.
And you know, they're trying to use that horrible word, synergy.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what would have happened if Hogan had gone to do something in like the late 80s when he was at his biggest, compared to where he is now in 93, where he's like, you know, he's clearly on the wane at this point. Like, even in the WWF, he's not the man of the company anymore. He's obviously on his way down. So I wonder if, like, you know, around about WrestleMania 4 or 5, if he'd gone to a TV show then, would they left the belt on him or in the middle of his big run in, you know, the 4 years he held the belt originally?
Interesting idea. Yeah.
Would it have been different?
I would be inclined to believe at that time they probably would have tried to get the belt off him.
Yeah, because he couldn't have Hogan sully the belt by taking it around to all these other low-rent entertainment places.
But it's still kayfabe, I suppose. Well, that's kayfabe as it was back then. Yeah. I mean, the thing I've written about this match really is that it's a match built on compromises, full of compromises. Because obviously, you know, Hogan didn't want to drop the belt to Hart, did he? So that's why they kind of brought Yokozuna into it.
Well, I'm not sure. I'll do that later.
Oh, Geordie.
Yeah. I knew it was coming. I knew the counter was coming to that, Phil.
Something was coming there. Oh, he counted me like I counted him last week.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. But it just feels like it wasn't the match that it should have been. It's like the wrong match at the wrong time, but it's the match they had to do at the time.
Oh yeah.
Which is just like it's just like a big lumbering match. Mm-hmm. I think the problem, on my notes, I kind of wrote down the problem with it is that like both men need a good worker with them to kind of create a really good match. And we've got two in the ring. I don't think either one of them is a good enough worker to create that kind of really good match.
But they did find a way out of not having a clean finish though, with the photographer appearing
with the exploding camera by the non-suspicious beardy man.
Yeah.
But that's just ridiculous by itself. I mean, it just looks like really ridiculously big. But I noticed as well, they talk a lot about the match, about Hogan trimming down for the match. And he does look suspiciously like he's lost some muscle mass. I don't know how he could have lost that muscle mass.
I have
no idea.
He's been on a boat. He hasn't got time to train.
That's a fair point.
Quite
simple. There's nothing suspicious about that.
Nothing untoward. Maybe he hasn't got enough vitamins to take anymore. I don't know.
No. Conversely, on the other side of that coin, though, they kind of say, "Oh, Yokozuna's bulked up. Oh, yeah, he bulked up for this match," as if that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, you're thinking, this guy did die of a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be saying that. But they kind of say Hogan's trimmed down for speed, but it's Hulk Hogan.
They tell Hulk Hogan's not speed at all.
No.
Yeah. The thing about this whole match is basically built around the fact that Hogan wants to slam Yokozuna.
Yeah.
And then can't.
Yeah. Keeps going for it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think he could physically, but he was told he's not allowed.
They obviously build up to that around SummerSlam.
Yeah, because that would have blown that angle if he just slammed him right there and then.
That's a WrestleMania angle. That's what you do at Mania.
Totally. But, well, the other thing I wrote down is we talked about the Justice match in WrestleMania 8. That one had the big long nerve hold in the middle. This one's got a bear hug. That lasts feels like it lasts about half an hour of a bear hug. And then I've written down, Yokozuna does his big kick. It does his big splash. Oh, Hogan kicked out.
Yep.
What a surprise.
Shocker.
Again, it's Hogan by numbers, really, isn't it?
I did like the triple big boot attempt. That at least seemed a bit like he was trying at that point. But
I kind of saw that they did work to kind of sell Yokozuna as a big heel.
Exactly, it worked him as a giant, unstoppable beast at that point. Because everyone else up to that point, the minute you hit that big boot, you know it's done. Yeah,
and the leg drop.
Yeah, you're done. Thank you very much for playing.
Yeah. And then Yoko does a couple of banzai splashes just for good measure. Crushes Hulk America. Kids are crying.
Kids were not happy during the show.
Macho's angry.
I like the fact they say on commentary, the children in the arena are crying, and it cuts to a child who is blatantly not crying.
Not crying at all. Another thing I liked about it, at the end of the match, Yokozuna's getting out of the ring. So he puts the belt on the floor. He drops on the floor to get out of the ring. And Macho Man screams, "Did you see what he did? He threw the belt on the floor." It's he's getting out of the ring.
He's getting out of the ring, mate. He can't carry it. Have you noticed as well, by the way, whenever Hogan in this match, and usually in the past as well, gets hit by a big move, he's selling, the idea behind Hogan selling is basically to feign epilepsy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He just twitches in this really uncomfortable kind of manner. It just looks like...
You don't know if he's hulking up or is he having a fit.
It is. He's having some kind of fit.
That's what hulking up is. It's him having a stroke.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So...
I'll feel the power on my leg.
So, basically, that's the end of Hulkamania.
Yep, Hulkamania is dead. Long live the Orient. This match sucked.
That's Hulkamania, 1984 to 1993?
Sure.
1.5 stars.
It wasn't dead.
It was just sleeping for a very long time.
It went into a coma.
Was Hulkamania dead? I think not.
That's a bold statement. I think, Hulkamania Part 1 was dead. How about that? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, let's go with that.
I think we probably saw the resurrection of Hulk Hogan in about 2002, post WrestleMania 18.
Yeah.
And died shortly thereafter.
It's been put away for about 9 years.
Yeah. It's been tucked away in the shed, just getting ready for its rainy day.
Yep. So we go from the past of the WWF to the future with Shawn Michaels. Yes. You see that?
Segue.
Michael's looking very cocky in this promo.
Yes.
I love it. Mean Gene throws out a Jurassic Park.
Yes, he does.
I was like, whoa, Mean Gene, calm yourself, mate.
Oh, yeah, because Shawn Michaels says, that Hulk Hogan is a dinosaur and he's just been eating like a big Brontosaurus burger.
Yeah. Mean Gene just goes, you've just watched too much of that Jurassic Park. It's like, oh, God.
Wink to the camera. And I believe that this must be one of the first times to actually name Diesel.
Yes, this is the debut, because up to that point, he was just this large gentleman that killed things, but this was the official introduction of Diesel to the world.
Big Daddy Cool Diesel just kind of stood there, all kind of big and stuff.
He looks mad. I don't know if it was the way they shot this promo, but Diesel looked massive.
He is. He's a big guy.
I know, but just the way they shot this, I don't know what they did, but he just looked like he towered over them. Obviously he did, but he looked absolutely huge.
So we're into the next match, which I believe is one of the most pointless matches on the card.
It is just a filler.
Steiner Brothers and the Smoking Guns versus Money Inc. and the Head Shrinkers.
Yep. Why does this match exist?
Money Inc. and the Head Shrinkers together.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
And it makes even less sense. You've got the tag team champions in there, just as part of an 8-man tag match. Why not have them in like a proper tag match for the belt?
Because that would make sense.
I quite like as well, obviously Jim Ross uses his WCW knowledge to kind of refer to all their moves correctly, the Steiner Brothers. So instead of a clothesline, it's a Steiner line.
Yep.
He feels more comfortable doing these guys because he knows what they're doing, knows their moves and stuff. They weren't long coming over from WCW, were they, at this point?
I think they were just fresh in.
Yeah, so obviously Jim Ross knows them quite well, so I think he feels more comfortable calling them in this match than he does most of the other people on the card.
The finish of this match, where the match just ends and then Mayhem unleashes, it's like every single TNA Impact match ever now. The match ends and then everyone gets in the ring and has a fight anyway.
Just runs in, has a fight. I mean, the Steiners did pretty much nothing. You know, it's just a bit of a kind of a bland, boring match.
I spent a long time during this match just looking and thinking, it's weird how they got to be where they are, because you're kind of sitting there thinking, there's Billy Gunn, who in this match is like a yeehaw rodeo cowboy, and you're thinking, give it 10 years, he'll be doing a gay wedding.
That's a good
And then you're sitting there going, we've already said, how I still don't know how Scott Steiner went from that to what he became.
Makes no sense.
Drugs.
Probably yes.
Lots of drugs.
And you're just kind of looking at folk going, really, that's just a bit weird.
Oh, and the head shrink is Rikishi's in it as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought that. I was just going to check. I was like, going, that is definitely Rikishi, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about half the size of Rikishi before he became, the Too Cool and Scotty Too Hot Rikishi friends.
Big king-size Rikishi.
There's kind of a weird group of people in there who become quite important later on, but at this point aren't very important at all.
At this point, it's to calm the crowd down.
Yeah, it's one of those matches where you kind of look at and go, this is a lot of famous faces that will be in the future, but just now they're nobodies.
Yeah.
Nobody. Speaking of nobodies, Crush is in the next match.
Hey, don't slag Crush. I like Crush, kid.
I did, because it's Crush versus Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental belt, and I like Kona Crush.
Yep.
Yeah, the Hawaii Crush going out with the signs in his hands.
He looked ridiculous, and he was bloody awful.
You see, but fair play to him, though.
You want to know something? At that time, right, I confirm, you want to know a fact?
Go on
then.
Right. No one in the early 90s ever saw Crush and Billy Ray Cyrus in the same room at the same time.
He's not Billy Ray Cyrus. He's not Billy Ray Cyrus, because Billy Ray Cyrus has got an icky bicky brack. He couldn't do the dropkick that Crush does this time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Because Crush, I mean, for his size, he throws out a pretty good dropkick.
It's pretty impressive. This was another point where memories of my childhood came back when, a certain duo turned up.
Doink the Clown.
Yeah, smoking.
Yeah, that was the thing as well. Smoking cigars.
Two of them as well.
Quite stuck up while doing it. This was an amazing spot.
It was like, you're thinking, this is still like PG WWF.
It's like, hey kids, cigars are cool.
You would not get a character in today's PG WWE smoking.
Well, remember what happened when the Truth did that one time?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you think about it, obviously back then he was this was heel evil Doink, wasn't it? This wasn't the comedy Doink. This was the proper heel.
This was
Doink. Otherwise known as the good Doink.
Good Doink. I mean, Crush. I mean, he's not. He during the match, Macho Man just calls him, like, he says he's got the total package.
Yeah.
But but it was his favorite, he's got, as a WWE main eventer, he ticks the boxes. He's tall, he's muscly, he's got, he's strong and all that, but he can't wrestle.
Can't wrestle.
That's his negative.
Yeah. But then, it worked for Hogan because he had the charisma in order to kind of put it up.
No, that's a lot.
But yeah, it's because Crush, he's got everything there, but he hasn't got that spark.
No, he doesn't have it, as we've described earlier on. He's got everything else, but he just doesn't have it.
Yeah. And so, seeing that and seeing the way Michael sells for him in this match, it's almost quite embarrassing. Like thinking, you got Shawn Michaels selling for Crush.
Yeah.
Really?
Michaels was just doing his job.
Shawn Michaels does have some fantastic kind of flopping about selling going on here.
Yeah.
Is there not one point where Crush just kind of punches him and Shawn basically flings himself halfway across the ring and out through the ropes to the other side?
I think that was him practicing for his eventual one where he took the big boot from Hulk Hogan and he actually went into space.
That match is hilarious.
Launched himself out of the arena. But then,
that match is brilliant. Shawn Michaels selling those ones.
They're obviously trying to sell Crush as quite a big, player. He's obviously... The Doink thing comes in and ruins the finish where Shawn Michaels drop kicks Crush's head into the turnbuckle.
He super kicks the back of his head, he bounces off the turnbuckle and that's the end of it.
I think earlier on, didn't Shawn Michaels bash his head several times into the ring post?
Yeah, so it was set up for the eventual finish, and obviously Crush versus Doink must continue.
It's down as being a 1.5-star match, which is probably fair.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because it's obviously this is Shawn Michaels beginning his ascension to the top, and it will be 2 WrestleManias away from where he kind of really properly became the man of the company.
He was climbing the ladder literally at WrestleMania 10.
Hey.
But it's 12. 12 when he wins the belt, isn't it?
12 is when he gets his first world title.
12 when he gets it, yeah.
In the most boring world title match in the history of mankind.
I don't know. There's nothing more
if
like.
Bret Hart's going to say it was a classic, then he can shove it.
Yeah, but Bret Hart carried him for that whole hour.
Yeah, Bret Hart carried him for the whole hour because Shawn Michaels was quite green. And didn't know what he was doing.
Without that, it would just be a 4 out of 10 match.
It would be, yeah.
So we're on to that. We're off that match now. We get like an angry Bam Bam promo.
Yeah, Bam Bam's great. I love Bam Bam as a kid.
Fresh as a daisy, Mean Gene. I got some business to take care of. I have the opportunity to be the first king of the ring, and I'm going and getting the job done.
I think what kind of shows, like, we've kind of bagged our Hart during the rest of this podcast. But I mean, look at Bam Bam in the Duggan match. He's just like a big plodding big guy. But you see him in this match. He's like a really nasty threat. Yep. You know, the difference in quality between putting like a big man with a good worker compared to two big men. It's night and day between these two matches. It's shows how good a worker Hart is that he can pull a match like this out of Bam Bam.
It's scary watching Bam Bam do a flying headbutt the size that he is.
He's a big fella, isn't he?
He doesn't quite properly go to the top rope, though. Have you noticed?
This is true, but he would actually go through the mat if he did.
Yeah. He kind of tempers it by just kind of sort of going on an arc. He doesn't get any sort of elevation off it. He just kind of falls.
He sort of just goes, which is scary enough because he's not a gentleman.
Ooh, agile.
Oh, absolutely.
Scarily agile.
Again, Hart really properly sells Bam Bam's moves. I mean, there's a few times Bret Hart takes some really nasty-looking turnbuckles.
Oh, my
Man, what is that ring move?
It did move.
Look at the move. The ring moved about a good 2 feet away from the steps.
And he really does work his best to kind of sell, what threat Bam Bam is during the whole match. I think there's one bit as well when they're outside the ring where Bret Hart goes to throw Bam Bam into the barriers and it's reversed. And Hitman nearly kills the front row.
Yeah, the front row's dead.
Like there's a couple of kids dead. He nearly takes his child out by going over the top and smashing his barrier in half.
There's a bit. Has anyone noticed
get that these days, would you?
The crowd in the ringside has noticeably thinned at this stage.
Yes,
I did.
Obviously went, well, main event's done, let's go.
Yeah, Hogan impersonator is conspicuous by his absence at this point in time.
He's actually trying to get a refund.
Probably.
It does seem very flat, but I think the crowd get into it as the match goes on.
It's a slow burner. The crowd eventually kind of hang on, this is actually something we should be paying attention to.
When it's the middle of the match, that kind of sells it. When you got Luna Vachon comes out with a chair shot and nails the Hitman. Hitman's back in the ring, but Bam Bam pins and he wins.
What a weak chair shot. What a big puff Bret Hart is. Got beat up by a girl, eh?
It's terrible.
I'd rather, in hindsight, have people take that chair shot than the match I watched the other day in ECW with Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka attempting to take each other's heads off.
Yeah, brutal head chair shots to the head are like proper nasty, aren't they?
It was to the point where I actually felt really quite uncomfortable watching it because obviously we know what's happened since then, but they were absolutely waffling each other.
Yeah,
well, that's Mike Awesome who can't get over without waffling someone.
Sure, although he did have that sweet mullet.
Oh, he had a wonderful mullet, but he cannot get over without properly braying someone.
Absolutely.
He just looks and kind of goes, if there's no reaction to the chair shot, he'll probably just pick them up and just slam them through a table again.
Well, as he did to Tanaka at One Night Stand, and Tanaka nearly died in the process because he went through and hit the metal support.
Exactly, because as long as Mike Awesome gets over, he doesn't give a shit about what he's doing to the other guy.
Absolutely.
Fucking tool.
Yeah. But I mean, like a chair shot on Mighty 3 WWE, I mean, that is quite, for them at the time.
It's still a chair shot. It's a major event at this point.
I mean, I think we're about 2 years from their first table shot, at least, I think. So I remember it. We'll talk about that later.
Survivor Series?
Yeah, Survivor Series with Diesel puts Hart through a table, which is like the first one. I remember being terrified when that happened. I was so shocked. But what was quite weird about this bit of the match, obviously, Luna knocks out, smacks Hart with a chair. He gets pinned. Bam Bam's the king of the ring.
He is the king of the ring. Don't change it. That's the end.
That's the end, yeah. But Earl Hebner comes out saying, I saw him get hit with a chair.
when else does that ever happen?
There was Earl Hebner during the Hogan match when the flame.
Yeah, exactly. Where was he half an hour ago when the bloody camera exploded on the side of the ring?
That was a technical difficulty. That wasn't somebody interfering. That was just an instant cameraman's equipment failing.
Is that what it was?
By the way, do we know who the cameraman was?
No.
Yeah.
I was going to surprise this one for Cameron. He's our good old friend who likes botching finishes at WrestleMania 8.
Papa Shango.
No, just tell me.
Harvey Whippleman.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know Harvey Whippleman could run that fast.
Apparently,
got out there quick.
He grew his hair, but he grew his beard pretty fast since the Mr. Hughes match as well.
Really good.
Yeah, wow.
We grew it in. Yeah.
How cool was that?
Yeah, so then the match then just cracks on to the finish. I mean, Bam Bam does some great selling for Hart. The crowd pick up on the match, so they kind of build up to the end. And then, boom, it ends with...
a victory roll.
Is it Bret... Yeah, Bret Hart on Bam Bam's shoulders, brings him down, boom, pin.
I just found that all 3 Bret matches didn't involve any of his signature moves, and they were all either straight pins or reversals. It was really weird.
Oh, he loves their matches in his book. Oh, he crafted them perfectly.
Yeah. He does everything in those matches. He does he not? You know that phrase, never meet your heroes?
Sure.
I think Bret Hart is probably the ideal example of that for me, because I think Bret Hart would be an utter arsehole if you met him in
his own arse. Yeah.
Totally.
I think so.
He's one of the... You've got people in wrestling that maybe aren't very... I mean, Hacksaw Jim Duggan on this pay-per-view. Hacksaw, I don't really rate as a wrestler, but I would imagine he's an alright kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he seems nice enough in real life. But Bret Hart would be the exact opposite. Can wrestle, but would be an utter tit.
If we go back quickly to the whole Bret Hart thing, why should we have brought it up? There's obviously a dispute over the whole Hogan thing, whether he was supposed to fight him at SummerSlam or whether Hogan refused the match. In my opinion, I don't think the match was ever going to happen. It was orchestrated by Vince and Hogan just to do Bret Hart's ego, I think. That's the whole point of the whole King of the Ring tournament, and that's the whole point of why they did the photo shoot between him and Hogan, was just to soothe Bret Hart's ego. Never going to really go ahead with it. It just makes him feel good about himself.
I mean, the whole pay-per-view does seem designed to put Bret Hart over as like a legitimate threat, isn't it? Because he'd won his first heavyweight belt, hadn't he? He beat Ric Flair for the belt. But I think this pay-per-view is when they kind of go, right, we need to make him like a legitimate top-level guy.
He's going to be the guy.
What a victory! Never in my life have I ever seen an athletic display of courage as we have seen tonight. There is the King of the Ring.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, because we get to the coronation, which is just madness. Jerry Lawler comes out. I mean, first of all, the cloak that Bret Hart gets, that's a fine cloak.
That is a great cloak.
But then, like, when angry Jerry Lawler comes out, we get the birth of the Burger King chance.
Yep. That is so weak. I'm really... Of all the things you could have fought back with him.
Come on.
Coldenberg, oh, jeez. That cringe.
What?
I was like, oh,
what? No, crowd loves it. Crowd loves it, and you get like a big beat down.
Did you not know Bret Hart orchestrated Burger King? That's why it's so good. He orchestrated it all.
That's why it's so good.
Was it his business?
Yeah, it started off with some man selling a dead cat man, and he orchestrated up to what it is today. It's all his doing. Yeah.
They're actually called A King in Canada, not Burger King.
I'll tell you what I think. The only kind of king you are is the Burger King.
Oh, no.
So yeah, even though like it ends with Bret Hart on the floor being beaten up by Jerry Lawler, which is a strange feud to put him into for the next 2 years, it feels like. But the whole pay-per-view is just kind of built around.
This man is great. Worship this man. Please worship this man.
When we the 2 pay-per-views we've done so far, I think we've kind of in a way started looking at things that are the kind of foundations for the Attitude Era. Because first of all, in like WrestleMania 8, we had the whole Ric Flair Macho Man plotline, which was more about Ric Flair trying to sleep with Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So it was kind of starting to kind of layer in those kind of more real plots into the thing. Mm-hmm. Then in this pay-per-view, you've got like, Hogan goes out, so it's the end of that era. But you've got Michaels and Bret Hart both beat 2 big men, even though, Bigelow's not like the typical WWE big man. Crash is the typical WWE big man.
Sure.
Michaels gets over on him, and Bret Hart is made to be like, the toughest man in the company. Even though both are neither the kind of usual big men that they would have as their kind of, the big names of the company. So I think it's that kind of start point where we kind of get to...
It's the start of the evolution away from the enhanced superstars and more into the technical, more agile superstar.
Yeah. Obviously, it'll take 3 or 4 years for it to kind of properly go down that route. But this is it starts with this pay-per-view. They make Bret Hart like such a tough guy. kind of getting through his matches. They sell all his moves. They sell how good he is. They properly put him over as like the real deal during like this whole thing. So I think it's quite interesting. Like this is where as Hulk Hogan goes out the door, effectively at the end of this pay-per-view, this is the start of like the technical guys rising to the top and taking the company forward into the Attitude Era.
You want to hear another great Bret Hart quote?
Oh, go on then.
Oh, please.
All right. This one I loved. I don't know which word for word, but it's very similar. I haven't got the book in front of us. I read it last night, of these chapters anyway. Apparently, the reason he didn't get his match with Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam was because he knew it, Hulk Hogan knew it, and everybody knew it. If Bret Hart went out there to face Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam, they would just boo Hogan. They would boo Hogan and cheer Bret violently.
Well, and off.
But haven't they kind of like they almost faced that with Sid Justice when Justice was getting cheered for putting out Hogan?
Different. That was because it's at the end of his sort of thing. But he's had a year's break. I don't think there's any chance in Earth that they would boo Hogan.
Oh no! When you hear Hogan come out like start of his match, the pop of the crowd is still
exactly.
Massive,
there's no way. There's no way. What's Bret going to do? Out-talk him? Mike?
The only way that would happen, the only way a crowd would maybe cheer Bret Hart over Hogan is if it was in Calgary.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way.
That's the only reason. If it was anywhere else on this planet, it would be Hogan.
None at that time. Yeah. None at that time. I mean, you might have a mixed crowd, but if you think even back to WrestleMania 8, did Bret Hart get cheered over Roddy Piper? I don't think so. It was quite a...
Well, again, it was like a face versus face match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't, oh my God, there's Bret Hart, he's the best wrestler ever. We've got to cheer him. Even though he's boring as hell, he can wrestle someone. That's not what the WWF's about. That's what he never seems to get in these books.
Well, that's an interesting point then. It's like, do you think then that Bret Hart was more put over because of the feuds he was in, rather than himself as a wrestler?
I think his ability was good, but the WWF's not, as loads of guys find out, it's not the place to go if you're just a good wrestler. It's very hard to make it if you're just a good wrestler. Kofi Kingston's a prime example, what we talked about before. Yeah. You've got to have more than just wrestling skill to get over, and sadly Bret, certainly towards the end of his career, had much more. But around then, he was a sound wrestler, you could depend on him and all the rest, but he didn't have that factor. Even Shawn Michaels had much more of a factor than Bret Hart did.
Yeah. I think he took his feud with Michaels stuff to elevate Bret Hart up a bit more, I think. I think Bret Hart always worked better when he was in a good feud. Because you kind of see when he goes to WCW, they don't know how to use him, and he just very quickly just drops to the mid card. Well, if that, they barely used him at all, did they?
Well,
really?
I think part of the problem in WCW was at the time in the late 90s when he switched over. WCW was so heavy with top liners.
Yeah.
Like you had your Goldbergs, your Stings, your Nash, your Hogan.
Shall we say it was full of top liners who had top liners who were in control of the book?
Yeah, all of these guys were in control of their own creative. Bret Hart couldn't get a word in edgeways. That he'd gone from being sort of a top guy in the WWF, switched to WCW for more money, but realised he was just now in a very crowded situation,
lost in the shuffle,
and couldn't really do much about it. So they kind of really lost interest quickly. Once the kind of novelty of we've nicked Bret Hart from WWF wore off, then Bischoff probably just sort of sit there and thought they couldn't do much with it.
Yeah. He went from being the guy to a guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. It's quite strange that, obviously the WWF got a good use out of him for quite a few years. But then, again, you could argue when he left, that's when the company really kind of shot. They kind of stepped up to the next level then when he left, didn't he? Was it 97? Survivor Series 97, wasn't it?
Survivor Series 97, the infamous Montreal screw job.
So obviously, off the back of that, we had Mr. McMahon, and obviously that was when WWF went through the roof ratings-wise, wasn't it? From that point onwards. So you could argue almost that Bret Hart was holding back the company.
Yeah, because Bret Hart often says that he hates the Attitude Era and hates what it stood for. Yeah, and I can kind of see his point. Yeah, there was a lot. For all people love the Attitude Era and hold it in great esteem, there's a lot of puerile nonsense in the Attitude Era. There wasn't much to do with wrestling, but it was just basically for shock value.
Yep.
But I can appreciate from that point of view. Yes, it wasn't the best, but for outright quality of wrestling, Attitude Era wasn't maybe the greatest. But for characters and sheer involvement of a crowd, cannot be it. And yeah, you're probably right. Bret Hart leaving kind of instigated that whole thing.
From that, you got Mr. McMahon character. They got that out of it. Stone Cold obviously was pushed to the top because that gap was there.
Yeah.
And everything just kind of goes crazy then, doesn't it? They're off to the races.
Exactly.
So what do we think as a whole of the King of the Ring '93?
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened to that. We've just spoken for an hour and 10 minutes about it.
King of the Ring 1993.
A lot of the
nothing
stuff
happened.
hasn't been the matches themselves.
Yeah, it's clearly historically important because
of course.
Hulk Hogan, because the way that Hulk Hogan goes. But I think the actual event itself, apart from the perfect
perfect Bret
Hart match.
That's it. Beyond that, you've got just matches.
There is some awful filler. Perfect. Bret Hart semi-final is good. The Razor Ramon Bret Hart opener is good. I still think Tatanka Luger is a decent match for a watch.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all right. And the Bam Bam Hart finish is good as well.
Bam Bam Hart
give that
match
credit.
Is really good. Apart from that, a lot of the other matches are kind of, as we say, they have the benefit of hindsight because you can kind of go, oh yeah, there's Michael. So he's not quite, he'll come good.
I wouldn't say it's a B+. I would maybe say a C. It was...
Well, what we'll do then, because obviously we already talked about WrestleMania 8, where would you rank it compared to WrestleMania 8? Better or worse?
Oh, worse.
Worse.
Worse by far.
Interesting. I think I'll probably do that as well. Because I'm kind of thinking, if we keep doing that for every pay-per-view, we'll eventually build up like...
A rank, I like it.
Like a league table.
Like a rank, yeah.
I like it, yeah, let's do that.
So currently, of the pay-per-views we've done, WrestleMania 8 is the best pay-per-view of all time.
Cracking idea, Phil. I like that.
And currently, King of the Ring 1993 is the equivalent of this year's Manchester United squad.
Yes.
Yep.
Just plain shit.
Just great shit.
Just plain shit. So yeah, that's King of the Ring '93. That was round 2 done.
Yeah.
Get it? No, they don't have rounds in US wrestling, do they? So we can't call it
They're doing King of the Ring.
Oh yeah, they do, don't they? Yes.
Yay! Not in a kind of one match sense, but yes.
Yeah, makes sense. We didn't get any fan feedback on this one, so never mind.
Oh well.
Hopefully next time.
We're just new. We're just establishing ourselves.
Exactly. Now, what should we do next? I've got a couple of suggestions what I think we should do next.
All right. Well, what have you got?
Well, because I thought we'd like I said earlier about we kind of picked pay-per-views that are kind of leading towards the Attitude Era. I thought, well, what's a kind of good next step towards that? And I've got maybe a couple from '95, either the Survivor Series in '95, the SummerSlam in '95, or the In Your House that was in between them. One of those three. Because each one's got something in it that will refer, that kind of is like another step towards the Attitude Era. Definitely. We've not done Survivor Series yet, have we?
No.
We did 2 shows.
I do like Survivor Series '95.
Should we do that then?
Survivor Series '95?
Done.
Survivor Series '95. So, if you want to take part in next week's show, let us know what you think about Survivor Series '95. Probably posting on the Facebook page is the best thing for now because I'm just in the middle of transferring my domain name. So once that's done, I can get an email address sorted out.
Oh, brilliant.
So once that's done, I get that sorted out. So, or you can, fire it to us on Twitter, through our Twitter handles. Even Ninja Phil for me, Triple H for Cam, Geordie Alan.
Geordie Al.
And Ewan's is Wandering Ewan.
Indeed it is.
See, I can't remember your actual names, but I can remember your Twitter names. What's more important? Yeah, so good podcast, everybody.
Can I finish the Bret Hart quote?
Go on then.
I love Bret Hart. He almost writes his own nonsense. Right. I get back to WrestleMania 9. When he lost the title and all that? It was a mistake. Do you know why it was a mistake? Shows fell. Oh, the attendance for house shows fell, right? Do you know who was headlining them house shows?
Bret Hart?
Yes.
Nailed it.
Because Hogan was away. So either they were come to see Hogan that knew he wasn't there, or they specifically just came to see the world title and that wasn't there. So, that's
the point.
This.
Oh, Bret.
Oh, Bret. It must... I kind of feel bad for him.
I don't. He's a dick.
I literally read that chapter and I just picked so many faults with it. It looks very good. You should read it.
What book's that? Is that his biography? Is it?
I have it on my pile of shame to read it.
It's the one it took him about 7 years to finish. And
First time I read it was brilliant. But when I read a bit back, literally every paragraph ends with the words, "I'm brilliant." Something along them lines.
Right, the book is called Bret Hitman Hart. Well, that's easy to remember.
Oh, thanks.
How many pages has it got out?
Oh, it's loads. It's quite a thick book.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
In total, the book has 573 pages.
Because I remember infamously, apparently, the first manuscript that Bret Hart handed to the publishers was about 900 pages long. And they basically turned around and went, no.
I bet he was like meticulously doing like every single match. Then I did the atomic drop. Then I did the backbreaker.
That was after he claimed to invent the world and everything in it.
Yeah. It's the Hitman's world. We just live in
the whole paragraph, which is basically him writing the words, "I'm not taking a jackknife," again and again and again. like he's in the Shining. Like he's in the Shining.
Oh, bless.
I will never work for Vince McMahon ever again. Yes.
All work and no jackknife makes Bret and happy boy.
And anyone who watched the match with Vince McMahon at that WrestleMania probably wished he had never worked with Vince ever again.
Oh, that match was awful.
Oh, God, yeah. Terrible.
That's for another day on the podcast.
Indeed.
Yeah. This is turning into a really anti-Bret Hart episode.
I don't hate the guy. I just think sometimes you should think before you write stuff.
A brilliant wrestler, and a brilliant wrestler, probably when I was growing up, my favourite as a kid.
Yeah, there's quite a soft spot for Bret Hart.
Do you think this is how people might look back on CM Punk, considering the situation?
Maybe.
I don't think CM Punk's done. I think we'll see him again one day.
He'll come back. I think CM Punk will come back. But
I think he'll come back, but it's a similar situation almost.
I was listening to, just to riff off that for a second, I was listening to one of the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with Paul Heyman, which was fantastic.
Yeah, those shows were brilliant.
But he mentioned on there about he was talking about the end of ECW, and if it lasted like a couple more years, then they would have been picking up the next kind of level of talent coming up from the independents, which would have been like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and those kind of people. So that would have been quite interesting, I thought. If it was a really interesting point to talk about, if ECW had lasted 2 more years and kind of kept itself as a proper company, then they would have been the ones who got Punk and Daniel Bryan and probably Cesaro whenever he started. And you would have had Paul Heyman guiding their career for much longer, which would have been very interesting.
But it's probably fair to argue that kind of Ring of Honor have taken that mantle.
Yeah, they are. They're kind of the below NXT level as far as WWE you'll see.
Yeah, I mean, ECW did have that problem of they were popular, but as soon as they had an act that got anywhere near over and top line, they were taken away.
Yeah.
So ECW kind of had to keep this production line going of talent.
Yeah.
And build them up, and then they've gone. Build up the next guy, and he's gone.
Yeah.
It became really easy just for people to just bugger off for not even just a bigger pay packet, but let's say a more reliable one.
A pay packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But if you've not listened to I really recommend those 2 episodes with Paul Heyman. They're really interesting. The way he kind of goes into the things that kind of put the company down, and the problems they had money-wise and all that kind of things. It's very, very interesting.
Jim Ross has got Jim Cornette in his show this week.
There'll be a lot of bitterness in that
Probably.
one. A lot of bitterness. Yeah, it's a good podcast, fellas.
Yeah, it's really good.
We'll be back next time with Survivor Series 1995.
Okay.
I forgot how we were ending the show. The Conquistabores have left the building. There
we are.
Was that it?
It'll do.
The death of Conquistabore-mania?
We should have some kind of sound effect of some announcer going, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Conquistabores have left the building."
And that's the drop.
Yeah, that's your homework for that, right there, Cam. Record that. Oh, I just did record it, so I can just edit that in, can't I?
Yeah, just put a bit of effect on it if you can.
Put some echo on it. Yeah, job done. I'll do it on the end. I'll edit out us agreeing that before I put the podcast off.
Probably for the best, yeah.
Probably for the best. But I'm thinking I should leave this in because that makes the joke even funnier at the end of the show.
Fair enough.
Bye then.
Bye.
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 The Conquistabores have left the building.
Perhaps the greatest hero in the history of the planet.